In this episode of Designing Spaces, we send our friend Hana Bilodeau from SIG Sauer Academy to meet 3 brave victims of home invasion. Hana will share her knowledge on defensive measures and firearms with them. Through their stories and Hana's insights, we'll learn about what to do when an intruder enters the home.
The beginning of my career, the first 15 years I spent in local and federal law enforcement. First years of my career, I spent most of the time reacting to something that already occurred. Now, I'm a senior instructor with SIG Sauer Academy. My career is a little more positive.
SIG Sauer is an American-based firearm manufacturing company that was founded in Europe in 1853.
So SIG Sauer is a unique company in that it was formerly based out of Germany. Around 2005, we really started ramping up efforts in the United States, and today we are all American-based.
During the 1990s, SIG Sauer moved their headquarters to New Hampshire in the U.S., where they also offer defensive tactics and firearm training through their very own SIG Sauer Academy.
So SIG Sauer Academy has been around just as long as SIG Sauer Manufacturing. It is a training facility. We teach civilians, law enforcement, and military. We do that domestically and internationally.
As an instructor in the SIG Sauer Academy, Hana trains her students in defensive strategies. Today, she'll be meeting with Alba, a young woman who still feels vulnerable after a dramatic experience when a stranger entered her home.
Hi.
Hi, Hana.
Hana, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me over.
When I found out that Hana from SIG Sauer was going to come today and talk to me, and I thought that was really amazing. Give me options about how I can move forward. So I was in my bedroom.
Okay.
Let me show you where it is.
Sure.
I had just graduated from college, and I was home alone. It was the middle of the day. I was in my bedroom folding laundry, and I hear the doorbell. Young kid, probably in his late teens, early 20s, t-shirt, casual, looked like some kid trying to sell something. So I came back into my room, finished folding my clothes, and then all of a sudden I see him walk past my window. So that's that first, like, heart drops into your stomach, right? So he walks through here, and then I see him walk back. Now he's peering through the window into my room. I was like, oh God, this is really happening right now. I see him peering into the window. I moved myself out of the way,
sure,
obviously, so he couldn't see me, like, starting to freak out a little bit. I mean, I felt like he was just staring right at me. And he keeps walking towards the back door.
Okay.
That's when I grabbed my phone and I called the cops.
Okay.
911, what's your emergency?
It's hard to explain the fear that starts to boil, you know, in your stomach and in your heart, because you have no idea what's about to happen.
And where are you at this point?
I am like standing right over here peering, just to keep eyes on him while I'm on the phone with the police. And they're like, what is he doing right now? Where is he? I explained what was going on. He was in fact at the back door, and he's got a crowbar and he's breaking in. The second wave of panic and heart sinking, now it's like in my throat. So my first thought was, let me go into the second bathroom. And that was the moment where I started to feel that those pains of panic, that I'm in danger. I'm in the bathroom, and I can hear him out here rummaging through things, looking for anything that he could sell.
Okay.
And I'm on the phone with the cops. And then my call drops. I was like, this can't be happening. And I call back again, the call's not going through. I'm like, all right, this is like, you know, where scary stories go really bad.
Welcome back. Alba is reliving her home invasion experience with Hana. She has been hiding in the bathroom because there's an intruder in her home. Talking on the phone with police has been very helpful for Alba to stay calm. But now, her call has dropped, and the noises in the house are intensifying.
It felt like forever, but luckily within minutes, I heard the sirens. I heard them outside saying, "Get down," and they apprehended him on the front yard, in the front lawn.
They got here so quickly.
Yeah. What I found out later from the police was that they were actually already in a close-by neighborhood. These young men had been hitting up houses, trying to find homes that were vacant.
Experiencing a home invasion can leave anybody with a feeling of vulnerability. Getting some training in defensive measures is a great step to start feeling more confident about oneself.
So in incidents like what you experienced, very rarely do the suspects work alone. Once faced with being caught, such as in your incident where you were home, the suspects are left with two options: attempt to flee or stay and fight. So it's important that we have ways to protect ourselves.
And protection is what SIG Sauer is all about. The SIG Sauer Academy offers the very best in self-defense, firearms, and tactics training.
So we do hand-to-hand combat classes, which could be teaching you how to use your body for protection. We also teach classes that entail disarming another person of a firearm. Our website is a fantastic place to kind of keep up to date as to what's going on with SIG Sauer Academy, and they'll also post on there if they have classes that are off-site. The number one thing that training gives you, no matter the entity, whether it's firearms training, whether it's hand-to-hand combat, it breeds confidence, and that's the number one thing that we can pass along for survival.
I think it's important, especially as women, that we set ourselves up to be as confident as we can in any given situation, and to not let the fear paralyze you, and know that there is plenty that you can do.
Home invasion is entering a private and occupied dwelling with the intention of committing a crime against person or property. Sometimes it may happen that the intruder is someone the victim knows well, such as a neighbor or a friend. Hana went to visit Florida resident Luis Santiago, who was living in a quiet neighborhood when a neighbor entered his backyard and stole a valued item from him.
I never thought it would happen to me,
I can't imagine how you feel.
It's a traumatic experience.
Take me inside and show me how everything kind of transpired.
Just follow me. So since I've been feeling a little vulnerable lately and I didn't know what to do, a neighbor of mine referred Hana from SIG Sauer Academy to me. I was prepping up for an exam that I had the next morning, so I was tired, and I decided to just take a little siesta. So a couple of years ago, I decided to go back to school. So my wife was pushing me for it, and I wanted to get my master's in engineering at FIU. And as I'm sleeping, all of a sudden I hear some noises, and I hear the dogs barking.
Okay.
But I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
I heard this one noise. It sounded like if somebody picked up a fence and dropped it. And then I figured, wait a minute, that sounds like my fence. And I got up, and I decided to go to the backyard and check it out. Come, I'll show you.
Sure.
So I come outside, and I always leave my bike right here. So I go around the back, and I open the door, and as I come outside, my bike's not there. So then I'm like, okay, let me go check out the corner. And then I noticed the fence was moved.
Okay, now I see what you're talking
Exactly,
about.
when I made that noise, ching.
Okay.
And so I run over here to see if I could find the person who took it. And then in the far end, I see a little kid.
Okay.
With my bike. And I'm like, okay, what should I do? Because I've never experienced someone coming into my property and stealing something. I have two options: to either call the police and file a police report, or just let it go, I didn't want to deal with it.
As Luis was debating about what to do next, he was given a tip to check on the neighbor's kid across the street.
So I knock on the neighbor's door, and the big brother comes out. He must have been at least about 6'3", 6'4".
Okay, so he was posturing over you.
Yeah, definitely. I asked him if it's possible that I can see his little brother's bike, because his neighbor just described the bike that looks exactly like mine. And then he comes up to me, he like that, all hostile, and I was like, okay.
Welcome back. Hana is visiting Luis, whose bike was stolen by his neighbor. Luis has gone to his neighbor's house to ask for his bike, but now his eldest brother is confronting him.
So Luis's reaction to someone stealing his personal items was perfectly normal. That's what most people would do.
Okay, I came here in a civilized manner.
Sure.
And I didn't want to deal with an altercation.
As Luis found out, he put himself, because of that, in a dangerous situation. Instantly, he was smart in backing down and going and immediately calling the police.
A couple of days later, the son shows up with his father, the big brother, and my bike. The only thing I cared about was my bike.
Sure. So it's incidents like this that we can look back on and say, what can I do better next time? I always say call for help if you have the opportunity to do so. If you don't have the opportunity, you should always be planned to defend yourself if needed.
They took the bike. But what happens if they steal something else?
Yeah, I can imagine how vulnerable you were feeling, especially when your home is supposed to be your safe place.
You would think that your neighbors are supposed to watch out for each other.
Sure.
Not steal from each other.
Yeah.
Luis has been thinking that having a firearm in the house could provide him with some peace of mind. And SIG Sauer Academy can help him learn about becoming a responsible gun owner.
So I always recommend for someone new to the market and starting in an educational class, a very basic class that'll teach you about firearms in general. So for someone like Luis who's new, I always say start with education. We always want to make sure that if we're introducing someone new into the firearms industry or market, that we're doing it correctly and that safety comes first. So our class starts at a Handgun 101, which is a lot of education thrown your way. We talk you through all different types of firearms that are out there, and we allow you to get hands on them so you can decide what's going to best fit your needs.
Luis has enrolled in Handgun 101 and will be taking the class next week.
Thanks to Hana, I feel much more relieved and I know where to start. And I'm looking forward to taking the class, and I think it's a great introduction to firearms.
Home intruders act more often during the week when the house is likely to be empty. They usually target residences that include a woman living alone or a wealthy senior citizen. Meta Serchansky lives in Boca Raton, Florida. Her community had been an unusually high target to intruders. She was at work when she received an unnerving call from her daughter at home.
Hi, honey, what's going on?
So I was in my office. I got a call from my daughter Ellie that there was an attempted break-in, something going on in the neighborhood, and the police were on their way.
To experience things like that is pretty frightening.
Hana went to visit Meta, whose story was particularly frightening.
In society today, we're seeing on a daily basis more aggressive acts of violence in our traditional neighborhoods. And unfortunately, law enforcement is a reactive force in most instances. So when we call 911, there is going to be a need for us to be able to protect ourselves until a higher power or authority arrives.
Meta's daughter was in the house when the intruder, who was running from police, broke into the backyard. This intruder had been invading a neighboring house when the police came to the door.
I get home, there's police everywhere, helicopters. It was a big deal. I know all my neighbors. I know the people who've lived here since the 70s. I know a lot of the kids who grew up in this neighborhood. And apparently a neighbor called the police.
I guess he was trying to break into another home, either down the street or in another community nearby, and he had been running. For some reason, he decided to pick our house to run through to get away from the police.
He came running across here over that gate of my neighbors and came right up here by the side of my house.
I heard a loud scream. I just kind of listened. I didn't see anything, so I was like, okay, that was weird. About 5 minutes later, I just went to the bathroom, and I hear like a kicking.
So this is the gate that he kicked through. After he came through the gate, she explained it. She ran to the back of the house where her room is so she could see.
I literally saw a guy scaling my fence, and he was having a hard time getting over the fence.
Fearful, Eloise called the police to get help.
They actually told me that there was a pursuit, so he was actually running from the police.
It was a very vulnerable situation.
Absolutely.
And when I think about it again and hear her, It makes me angry. What if he decided I can't get over the fence and I'm gonna come in the house?
My doors were open, and I don't know what I think I was gonna do, because I didn't have anything to protect myself.
Welcome back. There's an intruder running from the police in Eloise's backyard. She's alone in her home, and the back door to the house is open.
Ellie's in the bedroom. This door's open. The French doors are open. She didn't know. He couldn't get over the fence. Was he going to try to come in the house?
I don't know what I think I was gonna do, because I didn't have anything to protect myself, so I was a little worried to come out and check to see what was going on.
Thankfully, the police were chasing after the suspect, and in a matter of seconds, he was caught inside Meta's backyard. This time, Meta and Eloise were very lucky, but they should be prepared for any circumstance.
We don't want to become a prisoner in our own home. We don't want to live with a victim mentality, but we definitely want to be prepared.
I've made the decision to buy a gun. The only reason I haven't purchased the gun yet is, and maybe this is unique to women, but how am I going to safely store it? Am I going to put it on my nightstand? Am I going to put it under the mattress?
Meta and I had kind of identified her bedroom as where she wants to store a firearm when she purchases. So Meta, as you can see, I've added some new furniture to your beautiful bedroom. Should your safety ever be compromised again, you're set up for success. So we've given her some great options. We've brought in some units from Tactical Walls that I think are going to serve as a really good option for her to store the firearm when she does get it. And of course, continuing her training so she feels 100% comfortable should her safety ever be compromised again and she has to default to that firearm to protect herself or her family. Statistics show us that there are time restraints working against us in being able to implement a method of protection. There are things in our home that we can think through that can buy us some time on a ticking clock. What I've brought here is 2 articles of furniture made by a company called Tactical Walls.
Tactical Walls handcraft home defense locked and unlocked concealment systems that allow you to keep your gear hidden in plain sight.
So this nightstand unit is right next to where you would be sleeping. So your safety gets compromised. Although your situation was very unique and happening in the day, the majority of crimes happening around the home are still occurring at nighttime. So something happens, all you would have to do was reach for your RFID, place it over the locked unit, a simple drop down, and there is your home defense firearm. So within seconds, we can have access to a mode of protection.
And there's no way in without that
Without that key code.
Whoa, I never would have believed that could be.
It's a lot more than going to a store and purchasing a firearm. There is huge responsibility associated with making sure we have enough training to accurately use the firearm should we have to, and making sure that we have the mindset and we've made the decisions and taken on the responsibility of being a safe gun owner and handler. Another unit that I brought as an option for you is a built-in mirror. It is opened by a magnetic locking agent, so you just hold that over.
Oh my Lord.
It opens up your storage unit. Now you can store a lot more in here. As you can see, I've staged some ammunition, a home defense firearm, and then if you decide to take your protection into the personal realm and you decide you want to carry on your person, you can store your personal protection firearm here as well.
Having these options, it's a lot of peace of mind. Accessibility and also safeguarding it, that the gun is where I need it in the case that I need it, but nobody else is going to have access to it. You know, the event happened, nobody was hurt, nobody got robbed. She was scared, I was scared, but I basically said to myself, I'm not being vulnerable in my own home anymore.
The craziest part is when you ask me if I feel safe in my home. I do, you know, because of her. She's such a strong woman, and I don't think she would let anything happen to me. But it's one of those things, like I said, you can't control.
You can visit sigsauer.com or sigsaueracademy.com to learn more about the participant on this special edition of Designing Spaces.
There is a lot to learn about different types of firearms that are out there, how they operate, and how you're actually going to feel running a firearm. So training is one of the most important components in safety, in safe gun handling. We want to make sure that we think through what we're choosing and how we're setting up that process so that if our safety is compromised, we're ready to take back charge of that situation and be able to survive it.